and good evening. Welcome to our workshop this evening. My name is Tiana Harrison, and I serve as the Education and Volunteer Coordinator for Community Homeworks. And I wanted to welcome you to the part two of our container gardening class with our host, Jessica, my co teacher. I wanted to let you know that this is a live broadcasting, so if you happen to catch it now and you have any questions, feel free to put those in the comment box and we will answer them. If you're having to watch this after the live stream, we're more than happy to answer those questions. It just may take us a little bit longer to respond. Community Homeworks is on a mission to empower our neighbors to maintain safe, sustainable, and dignified homes. We get our fundings from grants, gifts, and donations. So if you feel inclined to donate, you may do so on our website at communityhomeworks.org. I'm so excited about tonight. We are here to talk about our plant babies, and our participants brought their plants back this evening. So I'm going to turn it over to Jessica for a little bit, and then uh, we will have a lively discussion and go from there.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming tonight. I want to check in with you first. I see that your container gardens look absolutely lovely, and I'm super excited that you brought them. So, does anybody have anything to share about their container gardening experience? Have you found yourself checking on your gardens? Like, what are you noticing? Oh, you put some eggshells in there. Okay. So, did you just work them into the soil or just put them on top? Oh, and this, so you're just adding it to it, right? Cool.
So one of our participants said that they put eggshells on their container garden. Can you tell us a little bit more about why?
Cool. So yeah, eggshells can be composted. You can turn that compost into fertilizer. Some people do topsoil composting and put it directly in. Sometimes that draws pests. So then you have to worry about my raccoon friends coming and digging for the eggshells. Um, you get cuteness overload, but they could dig up your plants. But your plants look like they're doing really well. And so did you crush them up really small? Yeah, you crushed them up. Cool. Yeah, so that will also help with slugs, right? Because if the slugs cruise over the sharp shells. Hmm. Cool. What about you guys? Awesome. Cool. Yeah, it looks great. How about you, Shannon? Cool. And yours looks pretty great as well. No problems with anything munching. Cool. Yeah. So yeah, so moisture was trapped there. Yeah. But you drained it. So that is we talked about that before, but just to talk about that too, our internet audience. Yeah, draining the water catch pans in the bottom is super duper important. And it does look like water built up there, but it looks dry now. So, mhm. Raised bed. Yeah. Well, it looks wonderful. Tiana, how about you? How has your garden experience been? Can you introduce us to your plants here?
Absolutely. Good
Okay.
evening, everyone. My garden experience, well, our garden experience, because this is our container garden that we grew collectively. And our tomatoes are doing quite well. We're having some flowering that will hopefully produce the tomato plants. We have one little baby green pepper here, and we have some little green pepper buds, and we have one jalapeno pepper and some little buds from there as well. Our mint is flourishing, and I'm going to encourage all of you guys to take as much as you want. And this is definitely, I'm sure you remember my pride and joy. This is our watermelon plant, and it is flourishing and looking quite luscious. I learned about the tentacles because what I learned is that because it's a vine, it will grow and connect to everything and everywhere. So I was a little concerned because my co-teacher felt like the tomato plant should be producing more flowers, and so I'm going to increase the watering to make sure that it's well watered. But I am very, very, very proud of this. And this is Peppa Pepper, and this is Pep Pepper. So they have names too. Yes, so I've been growing them for us right outside of the building. And I was talking to Shannon and Jessica and realized that because I don't water it on the weekends, it may not be getting all of the water that it wants. So I'm going to increase the watering. And hopefully the next time we get together, I will have peppers and tomatoes to share with you all.
Awesome. Has Hi, Suzanne. Has anyone harvested or trimmed any of your herbs? Yeah. Oh, cool. Because we're gonna do that tonight. So what to do now? So we've checked in. We have done a visual inspection. You're all inspecting for pests. Have you noticed any pests? I think we talked about no. Yeah. Have you noticed any pests? No. Cool. So now we're at a point where these herbs are actually ready to harvest. So one thing really cool about herbs is they really want to be harvested. So cutting them back and keeping them well groomed will help them grow. So we are going to actually harvest tonight. I want to talk to you about what can you do with what you've harvested just a little bit. So you can propagate and make brand new plants. So it's very, very easy to propagate the herbs. Almost all herbs can be easily propagated. So this is basil that I cut. So that it means that we can take from this original plant and make like a baby plant. So these I actually cut off these parts and I'll pass them around to show you. So the basil plant was growing and I just cut the tops off and I put the tops in water and they've grown roots. So I can, now that they have roots, I can put this in soil and have a whole new basil plant. This is kind of the community aspect of container gardening because then you can give plants to all your friends. So you can have another basil plant tonight if you want. So these are the little roots there. So you have a whole new plant. You could. We're going to give you another container so you can just set it aside. So propagating your herbs, that's a really easy thing to do. If you want to give away cuttings, you could do this. But let's say you just want to use up your herbs. You don't want to have to deal with trying to grow something in a jar. You can do that too. So something to know when you propagate in water like this is not all of the plants are going to develop roots, in my experience anyway. Some of them are going to get this black stem. They're going to get really gnarly. I would remove those. I would have removed these a couple of days ago, but I knew that we were having class and I wanted to be able to show you that. But where you see that there are little roots, you'll see that it's a much healthier plant. plants just shooting out there. And you can come collect some of these after the workshop. So you could propagate them. You can do that with almost all herbs, and it's very simple to do. And there's instructions on the handout. You're just going to cut the herb right above the root node, and I'll show you when we do the hands-on portion what that looks like. But let's say you don't want to propagate your plants to give away or to have new plants, and you just want to use your herbs. There are a ton of things that you can do with herbs. So compound butter. So you're just taking butter, you're taking your herbs, you're chopping them up finely and adding them to your butter. That's going to infuse the flavor. That's a really easy way to use leftover herbs. And if you get into this and your containers do really well, you're going to find a million ways to use the herbs because you're not going to want them to go bad. So you might do things like oil. This is seriously basic olive oil that I've infused with rosemary that I grow on my patio. This is so simple. So you're cutting the rosemary, stuffing it in the bottle, and putting in the olive oil. I use 2 really large sprigs for a bottle this size. And this is just a repurposed, like, I don't know, some kind of cocktail ingredient bottle. So you don't have to buy anything special for that. So that's something that's really easy. You can dry your herbs, and you can do that in a couple different ways. So I have this drying rack. So I dry larger things in here because I have a really small space. So I dry things like this all in one layer. And then below that, I might dry, I don't know, there's like sage and spice bush in there. You can also just hang the stuff upside down. So what I'm going to show you now is how to make adorable little herb bouquets by cutting on your own container garden plants. Plus you can use some of these plants here, and we're going to dry them. If you don't want to cut on your own plant and you want to just use these herbs because maybe you want to actually propagate your container garden, that's fine too. So I'm going to come around and you can just let me know. Is there anybody who wants just these herbs that doesn't want to cut their own garden tonight? Perfect. It's cool. I'll show you on, this is Ranjita's. Ranjita will watch us eventually. Hi, Ranjita. Thanks for letting me use your plant. And she's given me permission to like cut her plant up. So I will show you on Ranjita's plant and then you can decide. Yeah, cutting them is the best thing that you can do, really. It is. You're going to see. And I remember being skeptical. Like, I am not going to cut my plant down. But it's going to love you so much when you do that. And you're going to be like, wow, why didn't I? Oh, yeah, we can talk about that. When we talk about overwintering, we'll talk about making them healthy. Okay, so Tiana, will you pass out herbs to those friends that want it? Yep. One of each. Has anybody in this group dried anything like this? Yeah. So if you've not, can you, the purple scissors? I'm in my classroom. Did you just ask for the purple scissors? You you and every other 4th grader, Suzanne. You just asked for purple scissors. Okay, where were we? Okay, so making the herb bouquets. Yeah, that's where we were, Suzanne. Sorry. Yeah. I think there's 5 in that basket. So when you make the bouquet and you dry it, there's a couple really, really important things. If your herb pot has been outside, you're probably going to want to rinse the herbs. And you're going to make sure that they are super dry before you put them in these bouquets. So you might even want to lay them out for 1 or 2 days on paper towels. Yeah, no moisture from rain, because you want a dry, dark, airy place for them to dry. And moisture is your enemy. So you can actually cut this piece of twine that I'm giving you. You can probably cut that in 3, and we'll see how much we have left. Oh, there goes my headphone thingy. If there's a bunch of extra, Tiana, you can hand out more. Okay. If people want more. Yeah. Do you need more? Yeah. Okay. Hold on, let me move this. Okay, so everybody has a little bunch, has some twine. You need scissors? Oh, awesome. Oh my gosh, this thing's falling off again. That's oregano. Yeah, it's just in a different later stage in life. So that often happens. I forget to trim back my herbs, basil and oregano especially, but the flowers are beautiful and I just throw them on top of soup or whatever I'm eating, salad. You can take a look at these basil flowers. They're absolutely gorgeous. If you wanted, you could let the basil plant go to seed and you could collect that seed and then grow your basil that way. But the flowers are gorgeous. If you don't collect the flowers, they will be pollinated and you will have seed. Yes. Okay. So everybody has some herbs. Okay. And those of you that want to cut your container herbs can do so now. So if you want to cut your herbs, you can do so now. I will come around, but I'm just going to demonstrate here on Rangita's plant what I would do. So you are going to, let's start with the chives because I see Suzanne's ready to go with the chives. So with the chives, you're like giving them a flat top and you can cut them almost as low as you want. So I usually leave at least 4 inches. Like 4 inches is my kind of golden rule for myself. If you don't leave enough of the chive, they're going to struggle to come back. And so just leave a few inches. You already cut. So then have a look too. So I see that in this pot, there are a lot of little yellow dead chives. So I pull those off first and set those aside. With herbs, I am like constantly grooming them because all of this stuff can lead to disease. With my outdoor gardens, just let it go, like for the most part. But with herbs, I really groom them because they're trapped in these little containers and you can get disease pretty easily. Okay, so I've pulled out all of the dead stuff. And now it's time for a chop. And then, yeah, I hear you talking about the smell. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. Yeah, if you don't like it, it's going to be really strong for a little bit. So then you have these chives. So you can store your chives in the crisper. You can throw them in some water and keep them that way. But you have chives. If I have extra chives, I always throw them in butter with a bunch of other herbs and just keep it for potato stuff. Yes. Yeah. Yep. That was in cream cheese, actually. Okay. So sage, I notice here Rangita sage is not doing great, but it's doing okay. So it has some side shoots. I'm noticing some yellowing leaves, so I'm going to pull those off. I noticed this leaf has been really close to the soil, and so it's covered in soil. It's rained. It's splashed up on that leaf. You don't want to leave that. You want to pull that guy out. Yeah, it is wet. Those are the juices. Yeah. That's all that flavor. Okay. For the sage, I'm finding the root node, which I'm going to come around and show you. And I'm cutting just above it. And so I have this. Oh, it smells so good over here. Yum. You're not going to cut your sage, right? Are you keeping yours? Yeah. How about yours? Yours is looking good. So do you know where you would cut it if you wanted to cut it? Yeah. Right there. Yep. Ooh, your sage looks beautiful. No, that's perfect. That looks great. Okay, so if I were cutting your sage, I would actually cut it. So right here is the node. See where those two leaves are like that? So I would cut it right there above them. I'll show you. We'll cut it. No, that looks perfect. That looks perfect. So we have chives. The thyme, same thing. So this little friend right here, you're going to go through. I usually just do the flat top and put those herbs aside. Yep, that's that there. And so yours, just to use this as an example, if you don't cut your herbs back, it will get a little, little sparse growing here. This definitely needs trimmed back. And once this is trimmed back, you're going to see it's just going to bush out. So you're going to cut right here above the node. I would go about this length right here. And then it's going to split out in 2 branches there. Oh, here you go. All right. Yours good. Yeah. You know how to cut your thyme. You've got a little bit here that you could cut. Cool. Oh, okay. So thyme. So right here. Right here. So you can actually cut back to right here on all of those. Yeah. Yeah, you can put them all on the plate. And then when we make the little bouquets, you can do whatever you want with them. With the parsley, it's the same thing, but I personally do not harvest the parsley unless it's going right into a dish. It tastes so good fresh that I usually just cut my parsley out and add it to whatever. But that's up to you. If you want to trim back your parsley, you can do that as well. To me, it's not a great dried herb, but that's just my opinion. Yeah, it's like, what's the point, right? Like, it's just kind of a filler, I guess. And then I'm going to use Tiana's mint. Actually, I'm going to let Tiana trim her mint plant for us and give us starts. Because mint, if you're growing that, again, I recommend that you grow in a container because it's super invasive. Will fill in, it'll take over your entire garden bed. And one of the reasons that we didn't put it in our small containers because it would just choke out everything in there. But yeah. But Tiana is going to trim this back and gift this to us. With mint, my preference is so you can just like pick the leaves. You can just eat them. And they're really good. Tiana now sends me pictures regularly of her having them in tea. I turn it into simple syrup, which you can just do a quick internet search for homemade simple syrup with fresh mint. And that's a really, really good way. And then you can add it to all the things. So does everybody here want some mint to take home? Okay. Mint's also another herb, just that I don't dry because I find that the flavor doesn't come through. I use it fresh or turn it into a syrup. So yeah, really great. It's mojito season when the mint's big enough. Okay. You can just start cutting it back. Right above the node. They can, but that's a really good question. You need to dry them first. So I'm going to show you how to dry them once we get them cut. Actually, can I just use your bouquet here? So you can just turn them into bouquets. I usually make smaller bouquets. I just put a couple of pieces together because I really want to make sure that they dry really well. You can't, it's going to thank you. It's really hard to make these first cuts. I know that it is. I remember this feeling, but it's really important and your garden is going to love you. Let me just show you what I would do. Cause I would only do a few so that they dry thoroughly. Honestly, I just do like 2 or 3. So I would break that off. Oh, this is a good example. So things that I would not include in the little bouquet is like this dead stuff here. So go through and inspect what you've cut off and make sure that you're removing anything that looks funky because that could spoil your dried herb blend. So maybe you do 3 and then tie them together. Yes, because it's in the propagation. I would not put this in your pot right away. I would put this in water so that it can continue to grow. And I would cut off these little dead parts or the half dying parts, because the plant is going to work to try to make a go of these areas. Just save it the time and effort, and you can cut that off, and then it can concentrate on growing in the other spots. Yeah. The one that's like when it starts to flower, like it's ready to go to seed, per se. Yeah. So when the plant starts to go to seed, specifically the mint.
Yeah, specifically the mint doesn't. I noticed like with the one that I have at home, it'll start to like die off, like the leaf.
Yeah. So she's asking, will it start to die off? And definitely, because let's think about plant life. It's ending its life cycle. It's produced flower. It's been pollinated. It's going to produce seed, and then it's kind of done. In mint's case, it has runners that it can shoot out all over the place and have fresh new starts. So it does kind of get exhausted. If you keep it trimmed back, then it never goes to seed. And it's like, I'm going to work really hard to get to flower stage. And you just make sure it never gets there.
Like when you say nodes.
So these are the nodes. Yep. So you're going to just cut right above. And then what's going to happen is when you have growth, it's going to come out in a double there because it can easily split. Yeah. You got this. It's okay to cut it. Oh, here's your mint.
It's on.
Oh,
This is so stressful.
so yeah, she's stressing out over there. With your chives, I would not hang and dry these. I would lay them out on a screen. Bundle
They
this.
are sad. They are not. I know that people think that they are happy to be
Bundle
being cut.
that. Does this?
But they
I don't
are
know if you
not.
have. Oh, you have. This one I would dry or plant. I wouldn't put it directly in here. So honestly, if it were me, I probably would dry it. It's entirely up to you. You can just eat these fresh. It's a nasturtium. No, it's a nasturtium. Jason eats them. Look. They're really good. It's a nasturtium. You can eat all of these. It's an edible garden. Oh, so another thing with the rosemary that you might want to do, or any of these herbs, once you dry them, you can further process them by taking them off the stem. And then really make sure that they're dry. Like I have fooled myself multiple times and been like, oh, they're ready to go. I do this with mushrooms too. And they get all funky and I lose the entire batch. So let them dry. I mean, at least a week, but I go like 3 weeks. Here. And then once they're dry, yeah, you can put them in a mason jar. You can make blends. I don't usually process them until right before I'm going to use them. Like with rosemary, I'll dry it, but then I put it in an herb grinder or like some kind of grinder before using it, just before using it though.
Did I give you one of my strings? 'Cause I know I put the one in there.
No, that's your string. I can get you more string. Here you go. How's it going, Tiana? You look really stressed out.
I am very stressed out.
But look
what
at all
I've
this mint you have to give away.
to my friends, but look at my plant.
But next week,
Next week, yeah, it's going to be amazing. Are you going for the flat top? You're going to go for it. Awesome. So I would go. So this is like a protective sheathing. Let's go like
This is stressful.
1, 2. I would go right there
okay.
and just straight across. Awesome.
It's just so.
I do have more string.
So quick question too. Have you noticed with propagation that you should like let them like don't directly put it in the water and maybe like have a callus created over it?
So a lot of them I would create a callus with.
Can you explain what a callus is?
So the callus is basically you are cutting the plant and then you want it to heal. So you want it to begin to heal, right? You don't want it to heal completely. You want it to begin to heal so that it's not rotting and so that you can kind of monitor. Then you can put it in water. I usually have it in water in about 24 hours. I don't wait much longer than that
Okay.
for this stuff.
So cutting it to get the callus, but it doesn't have to be like a week. It would be like
No.
24 hours.
No,
It's
it'll
enough for it to, like,
wilt.
dry off.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it'll really wilt if you wait any longer than that. All right, you need some more string. Oh yeah, good idea. Need more. And do you eat these leaves or do you have a use for the nasturtium leaves?
I can do
Awesome.
we just finally got our first flower.
So you did get some flowers off of those?
Oh, it looks beautiful. I know. Did you leave this one on purpose? Okay. That's cool.
But it's okay. You can tell me which more. Like
Oh,
what
I
about
kind of like
these?
it. Yeah.
Does this need to be cut?
Yeah, I would cut them. Because see how there's missing leaves here?
Okay. Does it matter because I picked them, or does it matter because they're gone?
No.
So
it's,
I'm kind of bonsaiing this.
yeah, that's
Okay.
exactly what you're doing. You're bonsaiing your mint. That's a good way to think about it.
Call me Miyagi.
That is time.
Well, I got some from you, then I cut some.
Yeah.
It helps if someone who's so brown. They have like a hard shell.
So Jessica, can I ask you another question?
Mm-hmm.
You see how like some of these are hardy and then some of these are thin?
Mm-hmm.
Are those the ones that I want to cut back because they're thin?
I mean, so you can. So the reason that they're thin and growing like this is because they haven't been cut back.
Oh.
Right. So it's not really been challenged to grow.
Oh.
So yeah, but it looks really healthy down in here. So that's
Down in
good.
here?
Mhm. I would also pull off, like, this is a leaf that has obvious insect damage. I love insects and caterpillars. And so do check to make sure that there's not a cute little friend there. But that looks like some old damage. I would probably just pull that off.
Is that the same with this?
That's the same with that.
Okay.
So have you tasted this at all?
Yeah.
Did you try it? Yeah. The texture is. Mhm.
This reminds me of my grandma. Or like, it reminds me of Ponderosa. Remember when you go to Ponderosa and there'd be that sprig?
That's funny.
I like Ponderosa.
You need more string.
Or the Sizzler. Remember Sizzler?
How are you doing?
So I don't get them, did you said that these.
Yeah, I would let that dry out a little bit. Mm-hmm. Now let's see.
Yeah.
You could
Mm-hmm.
even cut the sage again
Flowers for myself.
down to here, and it would bush out. And then I would just dry these leaves individually. That's totally up to you.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you don't even have to cut it.
I don't have to.
No, because you can hang it and it doesn't really matter because it's not damaged. So because it's not damaged, you can just keep it. Yeah, it's going to hang upside down.
Okay. So you tie it around.
Mm-hmm. Yep. These are really beautiful. Like they look like
I know.
professional arrangements.
Right. I can, cause I need some on my back door, on the window.
Right.
I was gonna buy some, but I can use it.
I think another great
Cool.
thing is that come back, make sure the dog will really have anything extra work to it.
Yeah.
If you chose not to bring it in.
Right. So that is the next thing that we're going to talk about is overwintering and what to do at the end of summer. We still have a couple months of summer, but at some point, it's Michigan, the temperatures are going to drop, and we have to decide what to do with them. So yeah, Tiana's mint, as long as that container has some protection, you can leave it outside and it'll come back in the spring. I have been growing the same patio mint for like 2 decades, and I just snug it up to the building, put some other pots around it, and it's totally fine. So Tiana could leave that outside. If you want to bring the mint in, and if you want to bring in any of these herbs, it's very easy to do. Right now, we're hoping that the herbs are getting 6 to 8 hours of sunlight. So before bringing them inside, you're going to move them to a shadier location for about a week. You really want to harden them off and help them with the transition indoors because it's going to be totally different inside your house or wherever. So you're going to move them to a shadier location for about a week, and then you're to bring them inside. They still need a lot of light, at least 4 hours, but preferably 6 hours. You can get a plant light, and plant lights actually work really well for herbs. So you could put a plant light on them. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so herbs are super easy to grow inside. I would buy a specific plant light.
I mean, like,
Full spectrum. Yeah. Yep. What else about overwintering do we need to think about? Yeah, I overwinter rosemary. It took me a really, really long time. So I am fortunate to have a south-facing window that is not sealed properly. So that's not great, but it keeps it just cool enough. So the trick with rosemary is it wants a lot of light. It does not want high humidity. And it wants cool air. So it really doesn't want it to be over 75 degrees. Like it would prefer about 65 degrees. So I keep it to the frosty corner of the window, and fortunately that has a lot of light. My plants are really old, and honestly, they're super woody. It's like having a couple of trees. So I was just thinking about this morning, I was thinking I might just propagate them, take some cuttings, and start over because they don't look amazing. Oh, Tiana, you did it! Yay!
Yes, I
So what's going to make you feel really great, Tiana, is that you now have a bunch of gifts to give away to your friends.
Yes, friends.
Right.
I
So
do.
you put some work into this, but you could dry this stuff now, and it's next year's birthday present. That you could give these away. So save your spice jars. Save your spice jars so that once you're done drying your herbs, you have a place to store them. Tiana is going to pass out gifts. So does anybody else have any other ideas for these herbs? Like things that you might try? They do smell good. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good idea. And some people just hang these beautiful. Can I use your bouquet as an example? Because these are like gorgeous, professionally made bouquets here. Like some people just hang these up and do just keep them dried for aesthetic purposes.
If I do it outside,
How long to
like
keep?
over the door.
So if you're drying these outside, at least a week, but you really have to monitor it because it really depends on the humidity. So you want it to be brittle almost. You want to make sure, and you might have to rearrange them. So you might have to undo this and move them around. Let's say moisture is collecting here. Like really, really look at your bouquets because you don't want them to get moldy. That's why for larger leaf stuff and like bigger sprigs like this, I do have this larger drying rack because I have found that sometimes the little bouquets get a little bit funky. Plus they end up taking up more room where I live than that giant thing actually, because that hangs from the ceiling. How you doing, Tiana?
I am fine. And
Now you
friends,
can't stop cutting.
Now I can't because it needs a haircut.
Show her how to cut it. She said, "No, I'm not here."
Yeah, now I need
It's gonna be nothing left of it.
Right, bonsai to nothing. But my friends are more than welcome to any of the mint that's over there. Take as much as you would
No,
like.
What did he commit?
Yes,
That is spearmint,
spearmint.
and it's pretty delicious. Do we have any other questions? We have about 10 minutes. We can work on some more bouquets. We have a bunch of extra stuff here. Rangita's plant could use a little more trimming. Would anybody like more chives or sage or oregano? You're just gonna get it. Yeah, so that's your sage. I would cut that down. So
Cut it where?
I would cut it right here.
Okay, in the words. sprouting out.
Actually, it's gonna go right here,
Where it's sprouting out at.
maybe right above that, and then it will branch out right there. And then I would also check out this leaf. It doesn't look the greatest. I would pluck that friend out. So Tiana, you've been making mint. Or mint tea, right?
Mhm.
How have you been making the mint tea?
Well, in the morning when I get to work, I check on the babies and then I just pull 20 to 30 leaves off and put it in my tea and let it seep. And it's delicious. Last week I also had to go, and so I'm kind of surprised at how quickly this grows back because last week I trimmed a lot of the leaves off and probably got a red Solo cup full of mint leaves.
That's pretty amazing.
I was pretty excited.
You want any more chives? Sage.
No, that's strong. But you can't tell me what. Because
Oh yeah, what each of these are. So let's do that. So I have a marker and I also have some tape. You could mark the plates if you want, or I can send you with some tape. Also, one more really important thing to mention is fertilizing your herbs. I did bring some fertilizer that can be used on container herb gardens, and I brought some baggies, and I'm happy to send you home with some of this and to go over the directions as well. We fertilized and used really, really great soil when we made these container plants. So they're still good for another couple weeks. I would suggest that we fertilize them at the 1 month mark. So that would be just a couple weeks from today. So tape. Is there anybody else that needs to write on their plate an identification for future? No? Cool. All right, Suzanne. Okay, so those are chives. This is sage.
now, isn't there more sage?
There is, but this is this purple sage. This is a little different, but it's all together and it's not going to matter. You can use it the same way. So you can just write on there. It's up to you. And then this is basil. This is time. Yeah, I'm going to move this guy over. Same with this. And that's your sage. That can go there with that friend, and you know the chives. So this is a mix. So this is the rosemary here. And then this is thyme.
Oh, all of it.
All of this is thyme. So rosemary and thyme. Yep. Awesome. Do you need a marker for anything? Tape. All right, Tiana. Well, I think if there are no other questions, that we're done with the workshop as far as the online version, and you all can stop by and grab some fertilizer. There's that. Do you want to mark these?
So, just wanted to take the opportunity to thank our online audience for tuning in with us. Want to encourage you to come into our workshops that are held on Tuesday, right at 812 Bryant Street, right at 6 o'clock. We're looking forward to seeing your face in the place soon. I hope you all have a good evening. Hey, friends, I wanted to make the announcement. Are we still online, Jason?